The danger is the thing that really interests me. Now, it's like walking down the street and it's dark and you don't know who's going to be around the next corner, next turn. I think that in cinema, the kind of films that I make, the objective is always for the audience not to know where the film is going, because that is part of the structure of my films. So you're looking, you're discovering, you're feeling, and then you have like a big twist, and you have a dramatic twist, which is a narrative point. Like, okay, we're going to section 2, we're going to section 3. But if I don't have the sense of discovery that I am taking my audience on with me, then a very big part of what I'm trying to do, it doesn't succeed, because the objective is to take people on this ride that's like a place that they have no idea about. And it's not, like if you're making a film with junkies, it's very easy to make a film about junkies. You have misery, you have junk, you have, all that kind of stuff. You just point a camera and you have something. But how do you make that come to life? And so this is one way to try to do that, is by having this discovery of this whole place. And it happens in the editing room, it happens in the way you're filming it, it happens in the choice of the material. The discovery process of putting someone into this place is really important. I mean, I think that there are films that do that are very classic, like for instance, the story of the way Los Olvidados was filmed, the way he made that film, the discovery about these kids in the streets of Mexico and the problems they have. It's a really good film, a good example for a narrative film. For a film that's not a narrative film, I mentioned this film earlier, this film called Tilikat Follies by Wiseman. It's one of the films that he made that I really like. You have this amazing discovery process, not about insane people, but about the context of the insane people, and you really are on this incredible sort of journey into insanity, and it's just so pure. Amazing, because when I filmed that film, I had no idea that no one was making a movie about this this whole crazy fucking event where the Sex Pistols were touring America. No one had any idea how incredibly important that would be, because it was kind of the end of punk in a way. When punk was happening, when I was part of that scene, only a few thousand people in the entire world had seen any of these bands. Maybe let's say the total amount of audience for these people is maybe 10,000 people between London and New York. That's not so many people, So when you think about it that way, only a tiny amount of people saw the actual Sex Pistols perform. Only a tiny amount of people saw, these things going on compared to how many people saw the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or whatever. So when the Sex Pistols ended, when they broke up, and I went to London to film Sid Vicious and stuff, I thought, boy, who's going to be interested in this? It's dead, it's finished, Only in retrospect is this material so important, because A, no one else filmed it, and B, because I had this fucking gut feeling that something important is going to happen, and I filmed it with film cameras, and my producer committed suicide in making of that film. A lot of weird things happened, when my producer committed suicide in that film, I had to go to the laboratory and steal the footage back, so the company wouldn't take it from me, I had to find money on my own to finish it, My producer, we burned his body, we had him cremated. Then we went on top of the World Trade Center and we scattered the ashes in New York, I mean, it was that kind of craziness, So I had no idea. Like I said in this before, when I showed that film to distributors, after it was finished and punk was dead and stuff, we thought, wow, what's going to happen, and they said to me, the distributor said, well, interesting, but it belongs in a museum. What are we going to do with it? Well, and the film has done very well since then. It's a film about a very popular subject, which is football. So, football in Europe, in France and Italy, which is the game that I filmed, was like, you know, it's like it was like on a level of some kind of a religious event, you know. So everybody who is into football, you know, and there's millions and millions of fans, really knows the whole game really well from a mechanical point of view. And what my objective with making a film about football was not really the game itself. The objective with the film was to really make a competition between French faces watching the game and the Italian faces watching the game. And the competition, and you hear the game, but you never see the game. We had 11 cameras, and I was hoping, in Paris, 11 cameras in Rome, and hoping that something interesting would happen, you know. And that's all they did. We just followed these characters. And the objective with that film was then to then take this material and make it into this thing, you know, this thing that has a life to it. And it was an experiment to see what these people are going to send me, you know. And when I saw this footage, I was like really amazed, you know. So the film it could be organized in many different ways, but then it had to have this tension to it of like what's going to happen next, knowing how the game was won and everything else. But it's just watching these faces, because the faces are just amazing. It's human faces. All they're doing is watching a fucking game. And the beauty of that is that it's primal. It's very primal, because people become idiots. They become like monkeys. They don't think anymore. They just react to this game, which is like a fucking football game. It's like watching a rock and roll concert. And they're fans of this team or that team, of that team. So it's like I'm fans of the Beatles, or I'm fans of the Rolling Stones. It's all you have, is you have this thing, you know, this weird thing, and you're part of this big, massive audience that is all on the side, and you become this primal animal, you know. And this primal thing, they forget about the camera. They become these animals, and that's great for the camera. And I think I try to do the best I can with it. You know, it's not the most amazing film in the world, but it has a lot of power in it because of that, because you never see the game.